Right, been a bit of a while since I ever did a video. It's a couple of years. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's subscribed or liked or watched and enjoyed. Very humble about it. Wow. Anyway, moving swiftly on. Wanted to talk, go back to some real simple stuff. Pentatonics. I wanted to go back to that, our good old guitarist's friend, the pentatonic. The simplest being the C major, also known as the A minor. Now, that particular one has the notes, well, we'll go for C first. C, D, E, G and A. So, C, D, E, G, A. Now the A minor pentatonic has all of those notes, but just starts on A. So A, C, D, E, G, A. Okay, now the reason I always start with this one is just basically to kind of get used to where the notes are around the neck, and then you can start moving the different shapes around, or changing key to different pentatonics. So we'll start with a nice and simple one. We'll start down at the bottom end of the neck, just with an A minor C major pentatonic. So we start with an open E. We've got G at the 3rd fret, the open A, 5th string, then we add the C at the 3rd fret, then on the 4th string, open D, then at the 2nd fret we have E, open 3rd string, then the 2nd fret, then the 1st fret on the 2nd string, 3rd fret on the 2nd string, which is a D, so that's C and D respectively, then E at the top string, which is the same as the thick string, and then at the 3rd fret. Yeah? Now, some people try and just go straight up and down. The best thing to do is probably just take it in little chunks. Just messing around, say for example, just the bottom 3 strings. Straight away you've got that sort of idea for All Shook Up or something like that. Okay, but just moving back and forth with those 3 strings, the bottom 3 strings. Just getting used to those. You can instantly come up with some things that are already quite interesting. And then maybe moving to the next 3 strings. So, as opposed to the 3 thick ones, try the 5th string, the 4th string and the 3rd string. I'm just going straight down that. You can already start coming up with something that's quite interesting, but just going up and down, getting used to the notes. Okay, so you might do that a few times, then put all 4 together. Yeah, so from low to high, you can do it the other way around, start on the high strings and go down. Up to you, choices. The next one is the 4th string, the 3rd string, the 2nd string. Okay, so you can already start having a little bit of fun with that. Start coupling in with some of the other things. I'm just messing around, noodling about, just pissing about, having some fun. But already it doesn't sound too bad. You can have fun with it. Okay, now we start including the top string, that higher one. So we've got that open E and then the G. You kind of get the idea morning from, I think that's the Piaget suite anyway. But yeah, we've got that open E, the G. So you can start getting used to the whole thing. Once again, just moving it up and down in little sections if possible, because you don't eat a cake all in one sitting. You don't just grab the cake and go bang into your face, into your mouth, and you know, you choke and die. It's not very productive at all. Not at all. Anyway, so you move up and down, just getting used to it. Okay, so there's our the lowest shape that we have of the A minor or C major pentatonic. Okay, so let's move to the next one. Now, great way of doing this. Yes, you can do it by shapes, but the problem with shapes is shapes are confining. They tell you where you can play, and often enough it's like, you know, this is your room. You can't go outside of it, because this is your room. It becomes your place of safety. So sometimes the best thing to do is, yes, you can learn things by positions and shapes, but sometimes it's also a good idea to move out of that. We'll get to that in a little bit, but we'll go to the next shape, which I normally kind of think of as shape 5. Now for the A minor pentatonic, it's shape 5, but for the C major pentatonic, it might be considered shape 4. I don't see that. I see them as one and the same, so I just call it shape 5 to make life easier for me in my weird and wonderful purple edible head, where everything's shiny and magical. Anyway, moving swiftly on. So we start at the G. Okay, A is at the 5th fret. So that's the 3rd fret and the 5th fret. On the next string we've got the 3rd fret and the 5th fret. On the 4th string we've got E and G at the 2nd and 5th. On the 3rd string we've got A and C at the 2nd and 5th. And then we've got D and E at the 3rd and 5th. Then we've got G and A at the 3rd and 5th. Okay, now ways to obviously go through this. A couple of strings at a time, just get kind of used to it. That's a really good idea, just to be able to manoeuvre through it all. Okay, but just showing you how I do it personally. I like using my 4th finger a lot. A lot of guitarists don't. It's a fantastic finger, really is. Okay, so we've got the 3rd fret, 5th fret, and we'll just kind of go through it. So when it came to that 4th string, I moved back with my 1st finger. Now you notice I use my 4th finger for those 3 strings. It just makes life easy, because some people will try and do it like this. It looks uncomfortable, it looks ugly, it feels uncomfortable. So I try and compact everything in a little bit more. So I use my 1st and 4th for the 2 thick strings. And then I use my 1st and 4th again. Okay, now I'm obviously going to also do that with the 3rd string. Yeah? I also now, because it's easier for me to move, I can use either my 4th or my 3rd finger now. So the way that I do it is 1/4 pretty much all the way through, or if I fancy a bit of a change, or just want to ease up on my 4th finger, then the 2 thin strings I might use my 3rd finger. Okay. Choices. As in the Matrix, the problem is choice, apparently. Now moving on to what most people know as the 1st shape, A minor pentatonic, good old faithful. We're at the 5th fret, so we've got A, and then at the 8th fret we've got C. Nice and simple enough. 5th fret, and then E. So D and E there, so A, C, D, E. Then we've got G and A. Then on the 3rd string, 5th and 7th fret for the C and the D. And then onto the 2nd string we have the 5th and then the 8th, which is E and G respectively. Great little notes. On the thin string we've got the 5th and then the 8th fret, which is A and C respectively. So now we go up here to, a few strings at a time. Maybe the next set of strings. Next set of strings. Next set of strings. Now once again for this I use 1st and 4th, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 3, 1 and 4, 1 and 4 for fingers. Okay? We'll move up and go to the next one, which is shape 2. Starts on a C at the 8th fret. There's C, at the 10th fret we have a D. Now you might notice that I start with my 2nd finger. That's basically because essentially the 1st finger is going to be covering all the notes at the 7th fret. Okay, so 2nd finger, in order to keep everything 1 finger per fret, we're going to get that 2nd finger to start everything. Yeah. So 8th fret, 10th fret, then we're at the 7th for the E on the next string, which is that 5th string. Then we're at the 10th fret with our little finger at the G. So now we've got C, D, E, G. Then we're at the next string at the 7th fret for an A. 10th fret for a C. Remember, always do it in small chunks, if need be. Then we're on to this next string, which is the 3rd string, which is 7th and 9th fret, which is D and E. So we've got C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E. Okay, on to that 2nd string now. We're at the 8th and 10th fret for a G and an A. G, A. And it's the same on the thin string for a C and a D. Okay, so that's actually quite simple there. I mean, what you can do is, if you're just going up and down the position, just trying to get used to it, especially when it comes to these thin strings, normally on that G string we tend to use the 1st and 3rd finger, and then we might use the 2nd and 4th for the thin strings, or you can just use your 1st and 3rd fingers for all those 3 strings. Choice. Okay, so there's the 2nd position, as most people know it as, in the minor, but that would also be for the major pentatonic, C major pentatonic, that would be shape 1. Once again, I just lump them together and say that's shape 2, that particular one, because primarily I see it as the A minor pentatonic. It's a lot easier just to see it as one set of shapes as opposed to trying to see it as several set of shapes. Okay, so we now go to the next position that most people will learn, and that's at the 10th fret. So starting on a D, then an E at the 12th fret. Next string, G and A at 10th and 12th. Then 10th and 12th on the next string, C and D. Okay, on the 3rd string we've got the 9th fret and the 12th fret. That's E and G. And then as you saw me sneakily put in there, 10th and 13th fret on the second string. That's an A and C. And then on the really thin string we've got this 10th and 12th. Okay, for D and E on the top. The same as the thick string, because they're the same notes, aren't they? So they'll be always basically the same. Now once again for this, as much as it's close together, the way I try to treat this one, once again, is with my first and fourth. Sounds a bit odd, but have faith. You might want to use your first and third, up to you. It's mainly when it comes to that move on the third string, I'll show you. So, thick strings, they're just straight, those two frets, the 10th and the 12th. Suddenly you have to do this big switch. It can be a bit awkward if you're going to use your third finger, so I tend to use my fourth finger all the way through, which allows me to move back to the 9th fret. And then I can move to this 10th fret for the second string, and then I'm first and third there. Now, this is another area where you might want to do it several groups of strings at the same, over and over again. So the three thick strings aren't that hard; they're just all the same fret. It's the next set that. And then the next set. And then the final top three. So once again, taking time out to basically make sure you get your fingers comfortable with it. Okay, that's a really big priority with that, because everybody just tries to go up and down, up and down, up and down, or down and up, just one particular shape. Take it in chunks. Do take it in chunks, because you can't eat it all at once, like that cake analogy, which I use all the time, I'm afraid. Okay, we finally get up to this next shape further up, which is exactly the same as open, but this way I'm going to show it with the fingers now, because obviously it's up at the 12th fret. Okay, now this is shape 4, what I would see as shape 4. Okay, so we start on the 12th, which is an E, 15th, which is a G, 12th, A, 15th, C, 12th, D, 14th, E, 12th, G, 14th, A, 13th for a C, then 15th for a D, 12th fret for an E, 15th for the G. Okay, so just once again running through it a little bit at a time. Next grouping. Next grouping. A little bit of a stutter there, because I'm trying to choose in my head which type of fingering to use. Now, it's mainly because you have that sudden shift up on the second string. So you've got this 12, 14, 12, 14, 13 and 15. You've got two choices for the 4th, 3rd and 2nd string for this particular shape. Now, you can use 1st and 3rd, 1st and 3rd, 2nd and 4th, or you can use your 1st and 3rd for that 2nd string. Once again, choice. I personally would practice it a variety of different ways, just to kind of feel what's comfortable for you. And also remember, sometimes what's comfortable isn't always going to be the best, so sometimes it's best to practice the thing that feels uncomfortable. Using your 4th finger often enough doesn't feel comfortable in the beginning, but as soon as you start using that little sucker, it's great. You can do so many different things, especially for big old stretches. you know, getting this little finger in there at different bits and bobs, it just makes life so much easier. Okay, so they are all the shapes so far. Okay, I'm now going to go through them once again, nice and slowly, so you know you can see what I'm doing, up and down. But I'm going to take it 3 strings at a time. So I'm down at this end, open, third, open, third, open, second. Next 3 strings, so starting with the 5th string, open third, open second, open second. So that's the 5th, 4th and 3rd string respectively. Now we move to the next grouping, which is the 4th, the 3rd and the 2nd string. Open, second, 1st, 3rd. Okay, now we're on to the next group of strings, which is the 3rd, 2nd and 1st. Open, 2nd, 1st, 3rd, open, 3rd. We go to the next shape, which is shape 5. Okay, 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 5th, 2nd and 5th. Okay, next grouping of strings, which is the 3rd, 5th, 2nd, 5th, 2nd, 5th, and that's on strings 5, 4 and 3. C, D, E, G, A and C, so 3rd, 5th, 2nd, 5th, 2nd, 5th. Okay, we're going to go to the next grouping of strings, 4, 3 and 2. Okay, so on the 4th string, 2nd fret, 5th, 2nd fret, 5th, 3rd fret, 5th. Next grouping of strings, strings 3, 2 and 1. Okay, 2nd, 5th, 3rd, 5th, 3rd, 5th. Remember, alternate the fingers just to kind of get used to whether you feel more comfortable using your 3rd or your 4th. Now we're on to shape 1. Needs no real explanation for most guitarists, but let's go through it. 6th, 5th and 4th strings, we're going to be doing 5th fret, 8th fret, next string, 5th, 7th, 5th and 7th. Next set of groupings, which is the 5th string, the 4th string and the 3rd string. Bog standard 5 and 7 for all of them. A bit of Led Zeppelin there. So we're now going to go to the 4th string, 3rd string and the 2nd string. Okay, now this one has, we start on that G there at the 5th fret, A on the 7th fret, C, D, so that's 5 and 7, 5 and 8. Okay, now we're going to go to the top 3 strings. G, 3rd string, 2nd string and the 1st string, G, B and E. Okay, 5th, 7th, 5th and the 8th, and then 5th and 8th. Wrong key, but kind of get the idea. So much to be done, so much fun to be had. Okay, we go to the next shape, which is shape 2. Okay, now this one's at the 8th fret, starting with the 2nd finger. Okay, so we've got 8th fret, 10th fret. On the A string on that 5th string, 7 and 10. 4th string, 7 and 10. So that's 8, 10, 7, 10, 7, 10. C, D, E, G, A, C. Next grouping of strings, so 5th, 4th and 3rd strings. So we've got 7, 10, 7, 10, 7, 9. Go to the next grouping of strings, which is the 4th, 3rd and 2nd strings. So we've got 7 and 10 for A and C, 7, 9, then we've got 8 and 10. Okay, now we go to the 3 thin strings. So we've got 3rd string, 2nd string and 1st string. 7 and 9 on the 3rd string, 2nd string for 8 and 10, then the 1st string for 8 and 10. And that's that wonderful little BB King box. Etc. So much fun. Shouldn't use that 9th fret, that's naughty of me. Right, moving up to the 10th fret, we've got this next shape, shape 3. Starting there on the thick string, so strings 6, 5 and 4, 10, 12, 10, 12, 10, 12. Easy peasy. That's normally where I kind of screw something up or make a mistake, but we'll go to the next set of strings, which is the 5th, the 4th and the 3rd string. Okay, so once again this is 10, 12 for these 2 strings, and then we've got this 9 and 12. Okay, next set of 3 strings, so the 4th string, the 3rd string and the 2nd string, we've got 10 and 12, 9, 12, 10 and 13. Okay, we now go to the next grouping of strings, which is the 3rd, 2nd and 1st respectively. So we've got 9 and 12, 10 and 13, 10 and 12. So much fun, so much fun. Okay, so now we're going to go to shape 4, up at the 12th fret. Good fun. 12 and 15 for the 6th string, 12 and 15 for the 5th string, and then 12 and 14 for the 4th string. Just the same as the open, but 12 frets higher. Okay, so we go to the next grouping of strings, 12, 15, 12, 14, 12, 14, so that's the 5th string, 12 and 15. Next string, 12 and 14. 12 and 14 on the 3rd string. Go to the next grouping of strings, which is the 4th, 3rd and 2nd string. Okay, 4th string we've got 12 and 14, 3rd string 12 and 14, 2nd string 13 and 15. Okay, so we now go on to the next grouping of strings, which is the 3rd string, the 2nd string and the 1st string. Nice and easy. Okay, so 3rd string, 12 and 14. And then on the 2nd string we've got 13 and 15. Then on the 1st string we've got 12 and 15. Okay. So much fun once again to be had. Okay, so that's a great way to just practice through those. Remember, that's in the key of C major or A minor. So if you've got a blues track, you know, in A minor, you might go for your good old favourite, you know, shape 1, but you know, mix and match it a little bit. You know, going for shape 2. that being said, you might also be doing the playing the key of C, where everything's a bit more major. So you can have an awful lot of fun just with these by you suddenly playing two keys, A minor or C major. Okay, so that's first of all just with those simple pentatonic shapes. I'll leave it for this particular video so you can have a bit of a practice with that and just kind of get used to it. Remember, if need be, you can find these particular shapes on my website. I've actually written them out, and so you can print it off in a PDF format. I'll put the link in if I remember. If I don't, just send me a message, kick me up the butt or something like that and say do it. Okay, anyway, for now, to all the haters, get lost. To all the lovers, keep rocking. Safe journeys.